Hello. We're gonna switch lanes, change the subjects, all of that. Although everything is kind of along the same lines or the same subjects of whatever I want to talk about. This time, I'm talking about a new subject, and it's my website, lxmnv.com. Hey, yo, boy did something. Anyway, so I'm spending apparently like tens and 20s of hours on this a week because I also do other things. And after almost a year or two of hacking at this idea, I have quite a pool of literature, ideas, images, connections, and content by now, right? Whether it's been working out for me or not, I've been doing it, and I have a pool of stuff to where if I wanted to spruce up my image a little bit, I would just trim out all of the unprofessional stuff, right? And hopefully still I'd have at least 5-10 good videos up so that, you know, there's some kind of proof of work, right? So, and at the moment, I've been considering this my art project. And then this last month, I went ahead and repurchased the website because that's a couple $100. But then because I wanted to be able to sell books and handmade goods from my own website, I went and paid for a little bit more of a premium package. And it allows me to sell courses, books, and a future store, which I'm trying to set up. At the moment, I call this stocking up my inventory, but it's just almost a hypothetical term because this is still an art project, right? However, these are some of the first steps to where the reason why I was okay with not pursuing this fully is because I had no clue what I'm doing. And then I always had a job, and then nobody was ever nobody was hiring me to do their stuff, except I did some free work for friends and family and stuff, help them set up a website, do the little Google SEO, and then make some content here and there, right? For the most part, I just been making my content. But this website is something that I've been working on for a while. And I want to keep this message short. But the goal is to also say, like, I am more often than not very hesitant and uncomfortable about giving away too much personal information, right? But to some degree, there has to be a fair exchange. I discuss some heavier topics like personal redemption and personal growth and family structure and leadership and some probing questions about health, mentalities, and habits that could be plaguing us or that are working for us, right? So these conversations and discussions that I have with these hypothetical audience that I think I have, because I can see that some of these videos get hundreds of views, and because I break it up into smaller portions, each little clip gets hundreds of views. So I'm assuming at least 100 people are kind of following along across a few networks, right? So maybe 20, 30 here, 20, 30 there, 20, 30 there. And to what degree am I going in circles, right? So this whole personal growth has also been, I guess, my personal growth to try to boss up a little bit. Usually when things get hard, I quit, I go get a job. Because the job is usually good. My craft kind of pays relatively well. I don't have to struggle. It's stable. Some places offer benefits. The setup was just nice and comfortable and warm, right? So, and then I have all the tools. Well, most of the tools, because I could always have more. But it's just like it's a comfortable fallback plan, and it's very, very much something that I've been doing. However, this last year, because my family has been a little bit more supportive with me, they adopted a loser, right? So I'm staying at my sister's house for free, and her husband is actually quite successful. So it's almost no problem for them, but I'm still kind of a bum. So while I'm a bum, I might as well give back something. But then I might as well also build something worthwhile for myself. So, yeah, and sometimes I'm hesitant to talk because in the past people have definitely pissed on my plans, right? They have definitely tried to discourage me. They have definitely tried to get in the way. However, at the moment, I've been in the territory of the unknown for so long. Like, I don't even mind because I make a plan, I try to hack my way towards it. It works out or not. By the time that I get to the breaking points to where I'm like, okay, this is not working out, something else pops up, right? And so I guess that's the perks of perseverance, because Christianity, one of the bigger qualities that we talk about is perseverance and steadfastness and have faith, right? So some of this building a dream, building a life, building a business, chasing whatever goal requires practice, time, and effort, and some sacrificing, and then some discomfort, right? So to get to that side, at the moment, very broke, very poor, very much doing some free work. I consider it art, and it's crap. Most of it's AI, and then but it's almost a good life because I'm making connections with people, and we're talking about some deeper subjects like personal growth and living a good life. So I'll give you a little bit of my rundown because I spent a little bit of work today. Spent a little bit of time today working on this new way to organize my website. Instead of being like sovereign architecture, you motherfuckers, listen here. It's more of I have 5 or 6 books written. So instead of having some extracurricular stuff, I'm gonna simplify the pages to have a home page with some promos and shout outs and some store section of what we could be selling, and then some shout out to the books, some shout out to the this little Thrive network that I'm trying to do because I'm writing articles about the Pacific Northwest business, and then hopefully have a way to connect them together and then myself. And so when I'm out and about, I just keep making these connections, write reviews, and just get my brand planted into the local ecosystem so that when I do mention somebody, it has a little bit of waves, right? So that way, when I'm selling the marketing services, hopefully soon, I just need to figure it out, man. And so here's a long conversation about that. Is it recording? 1 second. Okay, dope. It's recording. So super tiny print, which is cool because you can't read it. So I broke it down to all the ways that I could potentially get paid. I have a book out on Amazon. I have a book out. Well, I have a book out on Amazon in digital format and then a soft cover format. And then I have a course corresponding with a book on my website for a little bit of money. And then I'm now discovering that I can buy some author copies and then I could edit them and resell them and stuff. So the goal is to stock up on some copies and then make some handmade covers, whether it's leather, whether it's plastic, whether it's something, just something unique so that when I sell a book for $50, for example, at least it's something tangible, something that stands out, something that deserves some space in the bookshelf, right? And then maybe a little bit more game inside the book because it's easier to make it more memorable instead of just mass produced Amazon copies. And then I'm coming up to hopefully be able to have a collection of clothing that I can do. yes, I have a couple of design concepts, and then highly personalized, right? Every t-shirt is obviously not every, but the handmade stuff is obviously handmade. So a lot of it is going to look a little bit different because creativity just says so, right? The mass produced stuff, hopefully I'll figure that out and then have a company handle that when it gets to that. But at the moment, I'm thinking of ways to stay self-employed, right? So I do have some car services, which I don't really want to sell too much because it could easily buy up all of my time. And then at this case, if I wrote a couple books, if I designed a couple courses, if I already spent close to 2, 3, 4, 500 hours on my website, that says that I also make content and that I'm very artistic and I can write. I don't want to just be stuck fixing cars, right? Although to survive, I do need to do this and that. But for the sake of surviving, I wrote a couple books. One of them is 50 Shades of Ramen, which is an entrepreneurial type of book. And so, because I wrote that book, I turned each of those chapters or 20 chapters into courses, right? To where the introduction to hustle is like, here's how you can start a side income on your part time while you have a job. And then one day you can grow that side business into a full blown enterprise. And then that could become your dream, right? I made a couple courses for that. Well, I discuss a lot of this personal growth and self development and spiritual talk. So today I had a realization like, hey, what if I give out a lot of free content. There's YouTube. I have some free copies of my books available, but then I also have copies of ebooks and then hard copies of stuff on Amazon. Then I want to be able to sell handmade copies, right? So buy some author copies, make some hardcovers, signature, add pictures, add more information, just whatever, and then have courses. So I'm trying to redesign this, and this is probably a little bit too much game, but it's just an FYI that the ideas are so many. For the longest time, I did not piece any of this together. I just had a couple books, nothing was selling, and I was talking to the phone, and nobody liked my post, right? So, in order for me to try to preach the sovereign architecture, I also, to a large degree, have to be self employed. So, if I can't figure my shit out, then how am I gonna help you figure it out, right? So at this point, I've overcome quite a couple things for a fucking white boy, right? And I'm sure all of us have problems, but some of us are still trying to face problems, or we're facing the same problems over and over and we're stuck in a loop. So although I address ambitious things, I know that personal stuff, heavy thoughts, heartbreak, that definitely gets in the way of business, right? So, and as a Christian, this stuff that I read, this stuff that I consume, also nurtures me. The words that we speak, the words that we listen to, the words, they carry their own ripples and meanings, and they're like food for our mind and our souls, right? So sometimes the stuff I read is actually quite comforting. It's strong. I'm a guy, so I look for stuff that's kind of bravado-ish. And then sometimes I notice that the audience that views me, or the audience that is suggested to me, is also like largely female. And so I have to tailor my message because I'm a guy usually speaking to guys, right? So sharpening tools and fire analogies and hard work, that's some dude talk, and ladies are just kind of spying on it. However, it is some very human conversation, right? And all of us are very much alike to a large degree. And we're waking up and we're blah blah blah, and the world is healing. And I'm trying to figure this out because um it's so complicated. So if I have a notebook full of notes I already have books. I already have this website. So a lot of this idea is already written down. What else do I have to say, right? Well, the thing is, the more the more I study it, write it, think about it, the it just gets deeper. The subjects, they expand with interest, right? So yes, if an ant walked across the road, boom, end of story. Well, and then I'm like, okay, what kind of an ant? How long was the road? What time of day? What happened to all the other ants? What happened to the chicken who was trying to cross the road at the same time? Like, what? So the story could go deeper. And I'm like, okay, starting in business 101, cool, cool. And then what, right? So that's why the courses. So I Am Phoenix is more of like a rock bottom, a personal transformation type of book. It's very deep. I spent like 10, 20, 10, 12 years just thinking about it and reflecting on my own experiences through life. And then I used AI to help me streamline some of these thoughts. But the course is even deeper, right? So each chapter, we got to break it down, we got to discuss it, we have to ask some personal questions so that you can ask yourself personal questions, so that we can look at these loops that we're going in and then address them and then do something different. And then the courses that I'm writing on some Christian subjects, I'm also cross-referencing with the Bible, because I'm only a fool with some experience, right? And so I failed quite a few times. Here's some information, and then hopefully one of these days my kid reads it and he's like, "Oh, my dad wasn't an idiot," and I'll be like, "Achievement unlocked." So, anyways, yes, I'm doing courses online. You can check it out. I want to start doing promos, and I want to start having reasons to be on camera, right? I don't want to just get on here for a couple likes and then just to be like, here's my outfit. Well, here's my outfit, but I also drew it. And then you can also buy your own that I drew, or you can buy a course that will teach you how to become an entrepreneur so you can design your own clothes and sell it to other people. So it's like, how far do we want to think about this, right? So I'm having fun. I like teaching. So maybe me having some books and courses will allow me to get into some speaking engagements, and then hopefully I handle the audience well, because that's why I practice these videos, right? So that my conversation becomes a little bit better, and so that I'm a little bit more informed and a little bit more helpful, and then it will just only enrich my life. So, anyways, check out my website, lxmiv.com. I do have books, I do have courses. Almost everything is available at a discount. I got you. The goal is to enrich you, and then to transfer value, right? So, if I'm offering you a solution and you're a millionaire, billionaire, and it's actually quite valuable, like, okay, then don't complain. But some people will treat a good deal like a cheap thing. And so I've already been there, done that, and I could be salty and bitter about it, but gold just doesn't tarnish. It wouldn't bother me if you don't like my writing, because I bet 50 people do, right? And to those people, like, thank you. I don't know why you guys are watching. And it would be foolish of me to think that I have haters to a large degree, because this is some game. I'm dropping some free game. And that's hopefully because this information also kind of comes from within. It's a experience, but sometimes perhaps God put me in a few situations so that I learn a couple lessons, because He also knows that I'm a mouthy little motherfucker. And so I would complain and I would be vocal, and then we would all hear about it, and then we would just be forced to think about it and then do something different, right? So that's one of the things. But yeah, thank you for your time and your audienceship. Have a good night.